For 17 years, I poured my heart into building a $1 million business alongside the woman I loved. Then one day, she asked if we could just be friends, and I agreed immediately. Little did I know, she had been leaking our company's secrets to a powerful lover while plotting to take everything we had built together. My name is Chase Mitchell. I'm 45 years old, and until 6 months ago, I thought I had life figured out. A thriving family business, 2 wonderful kids, and what I believed was a solid marriage. How wrong I was about that last part. Carrie and I started Mitchell Auto Sales from scratch in 2008, beginning with a tiny lot, 8 used cars, and a dream. She handled the finances, I managed the sales floor and client relations. I thought we were a perfect team. Over the years, we grew to 3 locations, focusing on high-end pre-owned vehicles, Mercedes, BMW, Lexus, the works. Customers trusted us because we ran an honest business. Before having real kids, the business was our child. Theodore arrived when I was 29, followed by Arya 4 years later. Watching Carrie with them, I was convinced I had married my soulmate. She patiently answered Theodore's endless questions and comforted Arya's worries about school. She seemed like the ideal wife and mother. But slowly, things began to change. Small at first, Carrie would retreat into long moods, giving me one-word answers when I tried talking to her. When I asked what was wrong, she'd say nothing, just tired from work. I bought flowers, planned dates, tried everything to bring her out of it. Eventually, she'd return to normal, and I convinced myself we had passed another rough patch. Looking back, I now see she trained me to accept this as normal. The silent spells grew longer with time, from a day or 2 to a week or more. She functioned normally with the kids and at work, laughing with customers, chatting with employees. But at home, I seemed invisible. She'd answer practical questions. Who's picking up Theodore from soccer? What time is Arya's piano recital? And nothing else. I began questioning every choice and word. Spending too much time at the dealership? Not enough. Forgetting important dates? Saying something wrong? I became a detective in my own marriage, analyzing interactions for clues about what triggered her. The hardest part was never knowing which Carrie would be home. Some days, she'd smile and ask about my day. Other days, the house was so cold I could see my breath. The kids learned the signs. Theodore hid in his room with headphones. Arya clung to me. Sensing tension she couldn't fully understand. The dealership became my escape, where everything was clear, honest deals, fair prices, predictable expectations. Carrie and I maintained our professional partnership even as our personal relationship crumbled. Morning meetings felt cold, like sitting across from a stranger. The BMWs aren't selling as projected, Carrie said one Tuesday, voice sharp and devoid of warmth. I noticed that too. I replied professionally. Should we adjust pricing? I already did. Marked them down 5% yesterday. A unilateral decision, without consulting me, her supposed partner. Even our staff sensed the tension. Office manager Janet shifted nervously, exchanging glances with head salesman Mike, probably wondering what was happening between the bosses. After the meeting, I confronted Carrie in her office. She typed furiously, ignoring me. We need to talk about communication, I said, closing the door. About what? She asked, eyes on the screen. About making major pricing decisions without consulting me. We're partners here. Finally, she looked up, expression icy. I am consulting you. I just told you what I did. That's not consulting. That's informing, I said. She leaned back, arms crossed. Fine. Next time, I'll ask before making decisions in my work. It's not about permission. It's about respect, about cooperating rather than working around each other. Are we talking business or something else? She asked, the edge in her voice warning me I was stepping on another landmine. Business, I said cautiously. Good, she replied, because I don't have time for relationship therapy during work hours. The conversation ended, like so many others, leaving me feeling like I had lost yet another round in a game whose rules I'd never learned. That evening, I drove Theodore to soccer practice. He was unusually quiet, staring out the window instead of chatting about his day. Everything okay, buddy? I asked. Dad, are you and Mom getting divorced? His question hit me like a punch. My 16-year-old was asking the very question I'd been avoiding for months. Why would you ask that? I managed. Because you guys don't really talk anymore. And when you do, it feels like you're angry at each other. I parked in the driveway, trying to answer honestly without scaring him. Your mom and I are going through a rough patch, I said. But we're both committed to this family. Theodore nodded, but I could tell he wasn't fully convinced. How could he be? I wasn't either. The breaking point came during a quarterly business review. Carrie pushed for expansion into luxury vehicle financing, something discussed months ago, but never finalized. At a meeting with our bank, she presented it as a done deal. We've already identified the target inventory, she told Mr. Richardson from First National. 50 premium vehicles, average price $75,000. I sat stunned. We never agreed on those numbers. $1 million commitment made without consulting me. That's a significant investment, Richardson noted, glancing at us. What's your partner's opinion on the timeline? Chase and I are completely aligned, she said smoothly, shooting me a warning look. After the meeting, I confronted her. What was that about? Business expansion, she replied, anger flaring. Something you'd understand if you paid attention in planning sessions. We never had planning sessions on this, I said. You just committed us to $1 million deal without discussing it first. Her face flushed. I've been trying to talk expansion for months, but you're always too busy or tired. That's not true. When was the last time you initiated a business discussion outside complaints or scheduling conflicts? I realized she was twisting the situation, making me defend myself for her unilateral decisions. This isn't about communication patterns, I said firmly. It's about you making major financial decisions without your partner's input. Fine, she snapped. I'll call Richardson and say we need more time, but don't blame me if competitors beat us to the premium financing market. That evening, Theodore approached me in the garage where I was working on my 1969 Camaro SS. My therapy, my escape. Dad, can I ask you something? Sure, buddy, I said, taking the socket wrench he handed me. Are you going to fight for our family? The question froze me. I looked up at my son's serious face. What do you mean? I asked. Mom's been different for a long time. You're trying to make her happy, but it's not working. So what's your plan? The directness stunned me. My 16-year-old was asking me to step up, to act instead of just endure. You're right, I admitted. I've been managing a mother's moods instead of addressing the real issues. The plan is to stop walking on eggshells and demand honest communication. Theodore nodded. Good, he said, because AR's been asking if we'll have to choose which parent to live with. That hit me like a sledgehammer. My 12-year-old daughter was already thinking about custody. The conversation I'd been avoiding finally happened one Tuesday evening in March. Carrie had given me the silent treatment for 3 days over something I couldn't even identify. Flowers, dinner, gentle questions, nothing worked. I found her in our bedroom, packing a suitcase. Business trip? I asked. The new financing deal requires face-to-face meetings in Atlanta. This was the first I'd heard of any trip. When did this come up? Yesterday. I told you about it. No, you didn't. She paused, turning to face me. Chase, I'm exhausted by this. Exhausted by what? I asked, keeping my voice steady despite my heart racing. This marriage, this endless tension, living like strangers in our own home. After 17 years, 2 kids, and a business we built together, she was suggesting we take a break. Is that what you want? I asked. I think it might be best for everyone. What about the kids? The business? The kids will adapt. They're resilient. And the business will survive. We're professionals. Her casual dismissal of our children and our shared company told me everything I needed to know about her priorities. So that's it. 17 years, and you just want to walk away? I'm not walking away. I'm suggesting we step back, maybe try being friends instead of this. Friends. After all those years of marriage, she wanted to be friends. The word hit me hard, but strangely, I felt clarity I hadn't felt in months. You know what, Carrie? You're right. She looked surprised, probably expecting me to argue or plead. I agree. Let's be friends. Really? Really? That's exactly what we should do. She seemed shocked by my immediate acceptance. Okay, good. I think this is the right choice. After she left for her trip, I sat in my home office, making a list, lawyer consultations, financial checks, custody planning. For the first time in years, I felt proactive instead of reactive. An hour later, Theodore found me. Mom left, he said. Are you okay? I looked at my son, who had watched me struggle through my marriage. You know what I think I'm going to do? 2 weeks later, I uncovered who had been influencing her. Edmund Blackwell, a major commercial real estate owner in our county, with connections in every development project. I'd heard of him, but never thought much, until my lawyer mentioned him. Your wife has been seen with Edmund Blackwell, attorney James Fletcher said, sliding a folder across the desk. I opened it. Photos of Carrie and a distinguished man in his 50s entering a luxury hotel. Timestamp. During her supposed Atlanta business trip. How long has this been going on? I asked. At least 6 months, maybe longer, Fletcher said. While I tried to save our marriage, she had been planning her exit with another man. There's more, he continued. Blackwell has been pushing for commercial development rights on the land behind your main dealership. The zoning board resists, but he's using political connections. The pieces clicked. Carrie's push for financing expansion, unilateral business moves, access to our financials. She was feeding Blackwell information while positioning herself as his insider. What's my move here? I asked. Legally, document everything, protect your assets, prepare for a fight. Personally, that's up to you. I drove straight to our main dealership. Mike, our head salesman, was closing a deal on a used Lexus. Chase, glad you're here, Mike said after the customers left. That BMW financing deal your wife set up. The bank wants to check our debt-to-income ratios. What kind of questions? I asked. They want our books for the last 2 years to verify capacity for the expanded credit line. Carrie had committed us to financing deals requiring full financial disclosure. Blackwell's banking connections would have access to everything. Mike, call Richardson at First National. Put the BMW financing on hold pending internal review. Carrie doesn't speak for the dealership anymore. I'm making the decisions now. That evening, I called a family meeting. Theodore and Arya sat on the couch while I took the chair across from them. Your mother and I are getting divorced, I said plainly. No need to sugarcoat it anymore. Arya immediately began to cry. Theodore put his arm around his sister, but kept his eyes on me. Is it because of that man she's been seeing? Theodore asked. You know about him. I'm not blind, Dad. I've seen how she reacts when her phone buzzes, the way she's dressing differently, staying out late. Yes, that's part of it. But the issues between your mother and me run deeper than just an affair. What happens to us? Arya asked through tears. You'll always be my priority. Both of you. We'll figure out custody arrangements that work for everyone, but my love for you doesn't change. Will we have to move? They asked. Not if I can help it. This is your home. I'll fight to keep it that way. I meant every word. Blackwell and Carrie could scheme all they wanted, but they wouldn't take my children's stability. The next day, I hired Rod Stone, my former sergeant from the National Guard who now ran a private investigation firm specializing in corporate security. If anyone could help protect my family and business from Blackwell's schemes, it was Rod. So your wife has been feeding business intelligence to a real estate developer, Rod summarized after I explained the situation. Now he's positioning himself to acquire your property using political pressure. That's my read. What do you want me to do? I asked. I want every detail about Edmund Blackwell's business, projects, political connections, financial vulnerabilities. If he wants a fight, we'll show him one. Rod smiled grimly. Within a week, he compiled a full dossier on Blackwell's empire. Heavily leveraged, reliant on municipal zoning approvals, cutting corners on environmental regulations. The EPA would be very interested in these hidden soil contamination reports, Rod said, pointing to documents. And the city council might want to review campaign contributions that were improperly disclosed. How do we use this? Carefully but effectively, I scheduled a meeting with Blackwell at his downtown office, ostensibly to discuss business interests. He agreed immediately, likely thinking he would intimidate me into selling. Edmund Blackwell was exactly as expected. Expensive suit, firm handshake, intimidating office. Mr. Mitchell, I hear you're going through personal difficulties, he said with fake sympathy. I thought I could help ease your transition. What kind of help? I asked. Divorce can be expensive. Asset division, legal fees, custody arrangements. I could buy your dealership properties at fair market value, giving you liquidity for a fresh start. The audacity was breathtaking. He offered to buy the properties he had been scheming to acquire through political manipulation. That's generous, I said, opening the folder Rod prepared. But I'll keep my properties. In fact, I think you have bigger problems. I slid the environmental reports across his desk. The EPA might want to see the contaminated soil under that shopping center last year. And the city council? They might want to review campaign contributions you failed to file properly. Blackwell's face hardened. What do you want? I want you to stay away from my business, my property, and my family. You can keep Carrie. She made her choice. But you're done manipulating my livelihood. One mistake I made was trusting the wrong person for 17 years. But I've learned. If you come after me or my children, every regulatory agency in the state will get these files. Walking out, I felt like myself again for the first time in years. Carrie returned from her business trip with Lillian Cross in tow, specialists in high-asset divorces, and ambushed me at the dealership on a Tuesday morning. Not bothering with pleasantries, Cross said, "My client believes a quick settlement benefits everyone." "What kind of settlement?" I asked, keeping my expression neutral. Cross opened her briefcase theatrically. "Mrs. Mitchell will accept 60% of all marital assets, including the dealership, in exchange for shared custody and a streamlined divorce process." The audacity stunned me. Carrie sat smirking, thinking she'd cornered me. 60%, I repeated calmly. Given the circumstances of the marriage breakdown, Cross continued. "My client believes this is fair compensation," Cross said. "What circumstances are you referring to?" I asked. "Her emotional neglect and failure to prioritize the marriage." I leaned back in my chair, studying Carrie's face. She couldn't meet my gaze. "Interesting theory," I said, "especially given her relationship with Edmund Blackwell." Cross's professional demeanor slipped slightly. "I'm not sure what you're implying." "I'm not implying anything. I'm stating facts." I opened my desk drawer and laid out Rod's surveillance photos. 6 months of documented adultery and corporate espionage. Carrie's face went pale as I spread the images across my desk. "These show your client providing confidential business information to a real estate developer while carrying on an affair," I continued. "I'm sure the state bar would be very interested in how emotional neglect is being presented as grounds when the actual causes were adultery and corporate espionage." Cross gathered the papers quickly. "We'll need time to review this new information." "Take all the time you need," I said, "but understand any settlement discussions must start by acknowledging who truly destroyed this marriage." After they left, I called Theodore, who had been staying with his grandfather during the legal proceedings. "How'd it go, Dad?" he asked. "Your mother tried to take 60% of everything and claim I was emotionally neglectful. Did you show them the pictures?" "I did. Amazing how quickly their tune changed." "Good. Mom made her choice. Now she lives with the consequences." The custody hearing 3 weeks later revealed the full extent of Carrie's selfishness. Cross had clearly coached her to act like the devoted mother, but Theodore shattered that narrative immediately. "Your Honor," my 16-year-old son said when called to testify, "I want to live with my father full-time. My sister feels the same way." The judge looked surprised. "Can you explain your reasoning?" "Mom has been lying to us for months. She's been cheating on Dad and trying to take over our family business. We can't trust her anymore." Carrie started crying, but it was clear the tears were manipulative, not remorseful. "She's been trying to turn us against Dad," Theodore continued, telling us he was the problem. "But we saw how he tried to save the marriage while she sneaked around." Judge Harrison reviewed the custody evaluation and made his ruling. Considering the children's ages, their stated preferences, and evidence of marital misconduct, he awarded primary custody to Mr. Mitchell. Carrie lost it completely, screaming about unfairness. Cross had to restrain her from approaching the bench. The property settlement was equally decisive. Carrie received 30% of our assets, enough to start over, but not enough to reward betrayal. The dealership remained entirely under my control. 2 months later, I ran into Jolene Harper at the grocery store. She had been Carrie's college friend and occasional confidant. "Chase, I owe you an apology," Jolene said, approaching me. "For what?" "I knew about the affair," she admitted. "Carrie made it sound like your marriage was already over. But when I saw how you handled everything with dignity and strength, I realized she had been lying about much more than just the affair." We talked briefly about the kids and how they were adjusting. As we parted, Jolene touched my arm. "You deserve better than the way she treated you." "I'm beginning to think so too," I said. That evening, Theodore and Arya helped me set up our new apartment. It wasn't as big as the house, but it was ours. "Dad," Arya said, hanging her artwork in her new bedroom, "are you happy now?" I considered the question seriously. You know what? I think I'm going to be. 6 months after the divorce, I received a call that changed everything. Dr. Patricia Williams from the family court had unexpected news about the custody evaluation. Mr. Mitchell, during the standard family assessment, we ran DNA tests as part of the children's medical records review. There's something you need to know about Arya. My stomach dropped. What kind of something? The results indicate you're not Arya's biological father. I sank into my office chair. Arya, my 12-year-old daughter, who looked at me like I hung the moon, wasn't mine biologically. Are you certain? We ran the test twice. I'm sorry, but there's no doubt. After hanging up, I stared at the wall for a long time. Then I did something that surprised even me. I felt nothing change about my love for Arya. She was my daughter in every way that mattered. When I told Rod, he wasn't surprised. I had my suspicions. The timeline of Carrie's affair with Blackwell goes back further than we thought. Want me to investigate further? No, I said. It doesn't matter who her biological father is. I'm her dad. That evening, I prepared to have what I thought would be the hardest conversation of my life with both kids. Arya, I found out something today about our family, I began softly. It turns out that, biologically, I'm not your father. Her face immediately crumpled. Does that mean you don't want me anymore? Sweetheart, look at me. I knelt down in front of her chair. You are my daughter, and you always will be. Nothing will ever change that. But if I'm not really yours, you are really mine. You're mine because I chose you every single day for 12 years. You're mine because I taught you to ride a bike, helped with your homework, and held you when you had nightmares. Biology doesn't make a father, love does. Theodore put an arm around his sister. Dad's right, Arya. Family isn't about DNA. It's about the people who stay. 3 weeks later, I officially adopted Arya. Judge Harrison finalized it in a short ceremony where Arya wore her favorite dress and proudly showed off her new adoption certificate. Now it's official, she said with a smile. Carrie tried to challenge the adoption through her lawyer, claiming I had no right. The judge dismissed her petition immediately. Mrs. Mitchell lost her right to object when she deceived her husband about paternity while ending their marriage. Judge Harrison ruled. 2 years later, Mitchell Auto Sales was thriving. Without Carrie's emotional drama or Blackwell's influence, I was free to focus on what I did best, building trust with customers and growing the business. Theodore had just graduated high school and planned to study business at the state university. He'd been working part-time at the dealership, learning every detail. Dad, I want to join the company after college, he told me one Saturday as we worked on my Camaro. Are you sure? There are plenty of other opportunities. I'm sure. You built something honest here. I want to help you keep it that way. Arya, now 14, had grown into a confident young woman who knew exactly who she was and where she belonged. She still called me Dad, still came to me for advice, still made me feel like the luckiest man alive. Jolene had gradually become part of our lives, first stopping by the dealership, then joining us for dinner, and eventually staying for movie nights. It happened so naturally that one day we realized we were already a family. Are you going to marry Jolene? Arya asked one evening as we cleaned up after dinner. Would that bother you? I asked. Are you kidding? She actually likes spending time with us. Mom always made it seem like we were in her way. 6 months later, I proposed to Jolene in our living room with both kids present. She said yes right away, hugging Theodore and Arya before turning to me. I love you all, she said through happy tears. This is what I always wanted, a real family. The wedding was small, held in our backyard with close friends and family. Theodore walked Arya down the aisle as my best woman, and she carried a bouquet of sunflowers. During my vows, I looked at the faces that meant everything to me. Rod, who'd helped me find my strength, my kids, who'd stood by me, and Jolene, who loved us as we were. Sometimes, I said, the best thing that can happen to you is seeing who someone truly is, because it gives you the chance to build something real with people who deserve your trust. Carrie wasn't invited to the wedding. Last I heard, Blackwell had moved on to younger prey, leaving her to face life on her own. Sometimes, people get exactly what they've earned. As for me, I learned that being kind to someone who betrayed you isn't weakness, it's wisdom. It means choosing peace over chaos. And sometimes, that choice opens the door to something better than you ever dreamed possible.